The University of Nebraska-Lincoln's Bureau of Business Research has completed a study on the economic impact of Nebraska's agricultural cooperatives. Dr. Mitch Harrion and Dr. Eric Thompson prepared the report detailing the value of Nebraska's farmer-owned cooperatives to both rural and urban areas of the state. In the following interview, Dr. Thompson also explains the study's results about how those cooperatives generated tax revenue and contributed to employment across Nebraska.
Well, Nebraska agricultural cooperatives have been around for over 100 years, providing services to agricultural producers, such as marketing services and also input supplies. There had not been a comprehensive economic impact study done on Nebraska cooperatives, so the Nebraska Cooperative Council asked the Bureau of Business Research at UNL to conduct such a study.
What years did this study focus on, and why is that important?
We looked over 3 years, so we started with the 2012-2013 fiscal year through the 2014-15 fiscal year. The idea of combining all 3 years was to make sure that our results represented a good average, typical annual impact of Nebraska's cooperatives. So during the period we studied, we had some years where crop prices were quite high, and we had some years where crop prices were more modest. So we wanted to have that 3-year average to make sure our results were representative of the typical year.
What was the economic impact from Nebraska's farmer-owned cooperatives?
The study found there was a $2.2 billion annual economic impact for Nebraska due to the operations and investments of cooperatives. A lot of that impact obviously happened in rural Nebraska, but there was also a significant impact within the Omaha and Lincoln metropolitan areas.
You mentioned rural Nebraska. What was the impact to Nebraska's farmers in rural communities?
Well, there were a number of values. First of all, the Nebraska cooperatives make a substantial annual investment in the rural Nebraska economy of around $200 million per year in plant and equipment. There's also a significant value from member payments that cooperatives make, and these are around $100 million a year. So between those two things and the direct jobs, around 6,000 jobs, that the cooperatives make available for rural Nebraska, there's quite an economic benefit.
What kind of tax revenues did these cooperatives generate for the state?
Well, if you look at the total tax revenues, both the direct payments of the cooperatives and the indirect tax revenues generated due to the overall impact of Nebraska's cooperatives, it's nearly $120 million per year in state and local taxes.
We mentioned rural Nebraska, but for bigger cities like Omaha and Lincoln, what was the value there?
First of all, some of the service providers to Nebraska cooperatives are located in Lincoln and Omaha, so that creates some business opportunities for those communities. In addition, there's just an overall economic impact. Some of the incomes that are earned in rural Nebraska result in spending in our largest cities. So from those two sources, there's a large overall economic impact, about 740 jobs actually combined in the Lincoln and Omaha area, due to the activity of Nebraska cooperatives.
As you've seen, Nebraska's farmer-owned cooperatives have a major impact not only for their members and rural communities, but also urban areas of the state. As the report notes, savings are returned to members and investments in rural communities are significant. And the number of cooperative-created jobs in rural and urban Nebraska and the tax receipts those cooperatives generate benefit the entire state's economy. For a copy of the full economic impact report, go to www.nebr.coop.